So you're thinking about building a disc golf course. Very cool. What is up, folks? It is December 20th, probably about 3:30. I'd say 13 degrees. It's cold. I was just out here wandering around, checking on a few things. I'm at Sterling Hill Disc Golf Course in River Falls, Wisconsin. It is closed for the season, but I like to go around. Winter is a good time to do maintenance and stuff. But I wanted to share with you a few things I learned about building the course, and hopefully you can take a couple tips. I'm not gonna go too in depth. I'd actually like to do a series about building disc golf courses and the process, what you got to go through. So if anybody has any ideas of things they'd like to know more information about, leave a comment, let me know. I am Andrew, and this is APR Disc Golf Entertainment. Anyways, I can just hop right into it. The first thing I think of, if you want to build a disc golf course, and unless you're like extremely rich or got a nice piece of property to use, got a lot of resources, chances are you're going to be wanting to use public land. First step to get in that door is build yourself a disc golf guy reputation, or gal. You want to establish yourself within the community, the disc golf community, and your local community as the guy to go to for disc golf. How you do this is you're going to want to start yourself a club. I started the River Falls Disc Golf Club in like 2014. Slowly grew it. This will come in handy later on. But the club is very important. You can raise funds. You can start leagues. You can run tournaments. You can have people just know you're the guy to go to regarding disc golf. You'll establish a presence within disc golf community and within your local community. And that should help you out quite a bit. If you can know like local government workers, people on like city council, park board, stuff like that, getting in. It'll make the process go quite a bit quicker. And folks will be willing to help you out more. Just be a respectable person within the disc golf community and within your own community. Put in a little bit of work and get people to know you're the disc golf gal or the disc golf guy. The second thing I found to be real important was educate yourself. Educate yourself regarding disc golf course design, land management, tree identification, plant identification. You want to know what weeds you're dealing with. You want to know invasive species. You want to know good trees. You want to know bad trees. You want to know what can stay, what can go, what's going to last long, what's going to die, what you can sacrifice, what you should keep. Remember this, you can only cut a tree down once. If you're questioning whether or not a tree should be there or not, just let it stay. If it's got to go, it'll eventually go. It'll die, it'll get bombarded with discs or something, but kind of getting off track. Educate yourself. Get on the internet. Watch some YouTube videos. Get some magazines. Really dive into it. There were so many aspects I had no clue about, and I just had to jump in. It kind of was a learn as you go kind of thing for me, but knowing this now, you could plan ahead, Plan ahead, learn some things beforehand before you get too deep into the process. But yeah, educate. There are so many things you need to know about building a disc golf course, and it's not just about disc golf. Most of it is land management. Third thing, once you find the land that looks good, you're gonna want to walk that bad boy. And you're gonna want to use GPS, you're gonna want to use tracking apps, you're gonna want to use range finders, you're gonna want to use measuring tape. One of the most handy things I used was a 300-foot long measuring tape. And that was, you figure you go in, oh, I found a piece of land, I'm gonna go in there with the range finder. It doesn't always work like that. Measuring tape, getting something right on the land, laying it out, knowing actual distances and areas that you have to deal with. That thing was handy, let me tell you. Measuring tape. Besides those tools, you got to get familiar with the land. You might get in and be working or mapping, checking things out, finding out locations that were desirable or undesirable, and might not even work out. You might have to go pick another piece of land. But I guess the point, you really got to get yourself familiar with the land. You got to know what you're working with. It's not a go out one time, pick out where you're going to put hole number one, and then walk 300 feet and say, here's where the basket goes, and so on and so forth, hole 2, hole 3, hole 4, until you get to 18. You got to spend hours and hours and days and months and seasons. You got to check out the property. Winter, summer, spring, fall. You really got to get familiar and mapping. And don't be afraid to do a few different maps or bring a few other people that are also knowledgeable disc golf guys, or even, forestry guys. Ask them about the trees, ask them about this and that, erosion, all sorts of things that you got to be thinking about when you're out picking out your piece of land. Fourth thing I think about is, who's gonna build it? Are you gonna pay somebody? Are you gonna do it yourself? Are you gonna get a bunch of volunteers? Think about that. It takes a lot of time, depending on the property. If you're working with a wide open course, wide open park, and all you gotta do is put in some tee pads and some baskets, not a lot of work there, but there still is work. You got to figure out what kind of pads you're going to use. You got to figure out how you're going to get things there, who's going to get things there. But who's going to do it? If you're going to have someone else, you're going to have to raise a lot of money. I hope you're going to have a successful club, successful tournaments, successful fundraising events. If you're going to do it yourself and rely on volunteers, I'll give you this little piece of advice. Until the work is done, don't bank on anybody showing up. I heard from a lot of people, oh yeah, I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna help you build that disc golf course. Then when it came time, boots on the ground, gas in the tanks, throttles getting pulled, there's no one there. Except for a select few. You're gonna have some guys that are gung-ho just like you. But you're gonna have a lot of folks that just say, I'm gonna help, but then they never help. So don't get bummed out necessarily. Don't hold it against them. People are busy. a busy world we live in. But just know a lot of folks will say, I'm gonna help, and then they don't. And just know you're gonna have to figure out who's gonna do it. Fifth thing I can think of, budgeting and timeline. I think the budget and the timeline kind of go hand in hand. You know what they say? Time is money. And one other, and you don't want to, timeline's important because you don't want to be making a bunch of promises that you can't necessarily keep at the end. You know, when you hear about that movie that's going to come out and you get all excited and then it gets pushed back and you don't get to see it. And then they say it's coming out this summer, and then it gets pushed back and you don't get to see it. It's a real bummer. So you don't want to put people in that position. So don't make any timeline promises that you really don't think you can keep. Push it out. Maybe give yourself an extra year. Or just have a good timeline. Get out, do a little bit of the work. Talk to professionals if you're having professionals do it. Get good estimates on your timeline. While you're doing that, get familiar with prices. Get quotes. Get multiple quotes. Be real on point with your budget and your timeline. You don't want to get halfway into a project and then realize you've spent all your money. You want to have extra. You're going to run into a lot of things that you didn't necessarily anticipate in the beginning. And timeline, you can't always predict the weather. You can't always predict the seasons. You can't always predict people's time necessarily. So, plan for monkey wrenches getting thrown in the situation regarding the work and the time. But no, good budget, good timeline, save you a lot of headache in the end. The last thing I'll talk about is just be prepared for a long journey. And a long journey that's not necessarily always going to be fun. Actually, the majority of it is not fun. It's all work. Turns out, building the disc golf course is work. And it's a lot of work. I know some places and some opportunities that present themselves, maybe it's just the summer. Other ones, maybe it's 2 summers. Maybe it's 6 summers. If you're dealing with a city or a township or a county, a lot of politics. You'll get a lot of no's. That was probably one of the bumpiest parts of the ride, and that's like right in the beginning. Don't get discouraged. Do your research. Get some data. Have a good presentation. But be prepared for a journey. Journey with a lot of things you'll learn, a lot of questions you'll have, a lot of stuff you'll have to figure out. It's a long ride, and barely any of it is fun. It's all work. It is all work, and a little bit of it is fun. Like I was saying earlier, if there's certain things you really want me to address, talk about, get more in depth with, there's many, many topics I could get into. The design, the politics, the securing land, finding land, who to talk to, when to talk to them, turf. And when I say turf, I mean like grass coverage, things like that, plant identification, tree identification, dealing with invasive species, trees, design, hole design, trail systems, navigation, all sorts. What? Leave a comment. Tell me what you want to hear more of. I'll make sure to have episodes within the series dedicated to the most popular topics that people want to hear about. Or maybe I'll have episodes with unpopular topics. Anyways, my name is Andrew. This is APR Disc Golf Entertainment.